Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and okay, I gotta talk about this because this is the stupidest thing I've seen in a long, long time. All right, so Star Wars: The Last Jedi, a movie that is very, very, very divisive amongst fans, and one that I probably shouldn't have dropped the money on, but I did. Came out on home video, and once again, we're kind of getting a bit more of controversy because Laura Dern, who played Vice Admiral Holdo in the film, well, she's been making the rounds, obviously, talking about everything involving the movie, and she dropped a little bit of info on her character. In fact, this article over here on Esquire says, Laura Dern just revealed a key detail that changes her Star Wars character. This explains Vice Admiral Holdo's shocking ending. Yeah, right. It's clickbait. Obviously, it's clickbait. It's you know what was her character? Let's be fair here. Let's be realistically fair here. What is her character? I'm not talking about the books, which I need to continue doing the chapter by chapter breakdown. But we're not talking about the book. We're not talking about whatever comics may come out. We're not talking about anything else other than the movie. Nothing else other than what we saw. What do we know about her? Well, we know that she is a vice admiral. We know that she is very loyal to Leia. We know that she sacrifices herself to save everybody. We know that she stupidly doesn't tell people her plans in order to therefore maximize the amount of lives she could save. And in the end, she does something pretty cool. I have to fully admit that. Also, pew 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 pew. That was yeah, I would have tried digitally removing that from her mouth, because you know she couldn't walk through the smoke and fire without saying pew. It's a funny little gaffe, but at the same time but those are all the things we generally seem to know about her, right? That, and she doesn't like, you know, kind of cocky flyboys. And look, I understand that. All right. No one likes someone to come up to you and act like they know more than you. Of course, your defensive shields are going to go up and you're going to boot them off to the side. But that being said, narratively, what do we know about her? And the answer to that is simply not much. So what exactly is it that she could say that would just change her entire Star Wars character? What could she do? How could she improve upon what Rian Johnson didn't show us in the movie or even remotely tell us? Well, it gets pretty bad. So she says here that turns out that Dern had long conversations with the Last Jedi writer and director Rian Johnson about where Holdo came from. And according to a new interview with Entertainment Weekly, the character could use the Force. In their minds and in their understanding of the origin story, we know that she was a true rebel in the resistance, and in our culture, we might have called her a hippie. But she was longing for peace and a revolutionary in that way, and she wanted to be trained by and led by Leia, who taught her everything she knew. She wanted to come up in the ranks to support Leia's mission, but she also had this otherworldly side that does involve the Force. Where was that even remotely presented, right? Where was that even remotely explained? Now, I can tell you where it could have been remotely explained, where it could have been shown. And again, Rian Johnson is very much a tell you, he's a show you, not tell you kind of guy, but here's where it could have worked. So the scene when Poe does the mutiny, right? When he takes over the bridge and they start cutting through the door and then the door gets blown off its hinges, right? And Leia comes in and everything else. Like, that was like, oh, Leia's awake and she's using force push on the door. Okay, we're back to this again. Yay. But what they could have done is they could have had her come through and force push off the door, right? That way it would have shown that she was in fact force sensitive and that she had in fact been trained by Leia. It would have been something. It would have been a little nugget, just a tiny little wee nugget of information in order to further flesh out her character. A character that I just want to fully put out there. I didn't hate. But I also didn't care about her because we didn't get anything with her to care about, right? There was the like the long handhold, the long goodbye at the end, making you go, maybe her and Leia were kind of getting down and dirty on some stuff, right? But then look, that line from Laura Dern about how she wanted to be trained by Leia and led by Leia, and that's how she was more of a hippie. Hence, I think the purple color hair, or what they call her, Admiral SJW or whatever, is what some people calling her. The point is that there was nothing there that showed us this information. So her coming out later on and saying, well, she was a Force user. She was just a Force user. She was so good at the Force. Makes no sense. Because I understand, in the grand context of what they were trying to show us with The Last Jedi, especially with the kid at the end and using the Force on the broom and everything else, is that there are more people out there that are Force sensitive than we were led to believe, right? You know, looking at the idea of the franchise, the two previous trilogies, has been more or less surrounding the Skywalker saga, that the Skywalkers are all Force sensitive and that it's rare that it happens to other people, right? But even back in the old Star Wars Galaxies MMO game, you could be a Jedi in the game, but it was like 1 in a million players or 1 in 100,000 or something like that. It was rare that you would be able to do that, because the idea of being a Jedi is not something that, or being Force sensitive is not something that everybody has access to. And here it feels like every character has access to the Force in some respects or another. And I understand that the Force does bring people together, and that's part of the mystery and part of the way it maintains balance, you know, the power of two, right? The master, the apprentice. So the idea there essentially is that Leia was the master and Holdo was the apprentice, except we never saw any of that. We never even saw Leia get trained, and Carrie Poppins was just a bad scene. So when it comes to explaining the Force of these characters, or them being Force sensitive, it's dumb, it's lame, it's stupid. It doesn't make narrative sense. Now, if we were to get a movie, like let's say they go back, you know, down the road or whatever, and they want to give us like a spin-off movie between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi that's about Admiral Holdo going on some badass missions and like becoming the character that we meet in The Last Jedi, where we get more about her, I'm on board with that. If they want to make a movie where it's like, you know, Holdo and Paige and Rose Tico, because they're all kind of on the same ship, at least in the beginning of the book, and then that they go off and they do missions and whatnot and like whatever, I'm fine with that, right? Like I'd be fine with that. Flesh out the characters. That's all I want at this point. Flesh them out. But when she's sitting there and that is like her motivations with Rian Johnson, and them coming out and going like, oh, well, yes, I was a Force sensitive character, and I sacrificed myself to protect the light, to protect the Force, because that again is what she goes with, right? To justify her suicide run through the Dreadnought. That was how she explains it. She's like, oh, I was just protecting the Force. I don't care, because we never got any information to back that up. You know, we never got any information to make that worthwhile. We never got anything that would give that weight. We never got anything that would make anyone care. But because what you've got here is this real like protective nature, or protective shield, I should say, around Rian Johnson, surrounding criticisms of the story of The Last Jedi, this is now going to be shipped into canon in some people's minds. Right? They're going to go, you know, you're going to see blog posts after blog posts surrounding Admiral Holdo going, oh, she is completely a Force user. She was a Jedi in training, so saith her. Right? But we never saw any of this. So it's like, it's just, it's weird to me. Like, it's weird that she would say that. Like, why? Like, it just further delineates a character that was kind of interesting. It does. It just delineates the character. Because I get it. Why not just be a person who is very adept in their own skills and is a very badass admiral, vice admiral, and it was being trained by Leia, who was very much a follower of the cult of personality of Leia, which is what a lot of the New Republic was against Leia for, and you find that out in the book. That would be interesting to have that played up, but no, just no. Make her a Force user. Make everyone a damn Force user. It's lazy writing. It's lazy storytelling, and the fact that it's brought up ancillarily in an interview when the movie comes out on home video, just further pushes that. Which is why a lot of people aren't very happy with it as a whole. They're not happy with it whatsoever. They don't like it. They don't want none of that stuff. So here's the thing. Disney, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, writers group. Okay, fine. Tell us the story of Holdo then. Okay, do it. Write a book. Give her a comic. Do something. Flesh this out then. Flesh it out in a way that's interesting, that has dynamic character range, that gives us a full arc and a reason to care about her. So when we go back and we rewatch the scene that had no sound in the movie, that AMC had to put signs up because people were freaking out about there being no sound. That's a whole other thing. We at least care. when that moment comes, that sacrifice happens, we at least stop and go, damn, there goes a badass woman. But right now, we don't have any of that because of what was allowed to be put on the screen. So please, don't try to layer this shit on later on. Don't try to push this agenda later on or try to make this a thing you retcon into canon later on. Show us. Show us. Don't tell us. Show us. It's the only way to make it right. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. They should be interesting. I expect there'll be a lot of negative comments about her character, but try not to do that, okay? Like, come at it from like a, from like a narrative perspective and not like Admiral SJW or something. But anyway, leave your comments below. Curious to know what you guys have to say. If you guys haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and check back often for more content from me. In fact, if you want to see more content from me, you can do so right now.